Hello, my hiking friends. Give me a sign if you can hear and see me. There are 4 of us here, so hi. We already chatted in the chat room a bit, so that was nice. Anyway, hi, my friends. So, live stream finally is here. I am so sorry about the like several postponements and then cancellations of the live stream. My return from New Zealand was indeed a bit adventurous. We had our flight cancelled, and then there was all of our flights were changed and brought a bit more forward, and then the time that I planned for the live stream I was not able to do anyway, but now we are here. What I wanted to, I have misplaced my notebook. Where it's here. So I am ready to talk all about New Zealand, and then whatever you want me to talk about, I'm going to. The crazy thing is, I am still recovering from New Zealand. I'm still a bit jet lagged. So we returned on Monday evening, Monday night. Basically, we arrived home, and the time difference is 11 hours. And I am still so quite jet lagged. My body hasn't adjusted to the new time zone. And a beautiful example of the jet lagged brain is I went outside to film a short update video to my channel, just to talk about that. I have returned from New Zealand, and that I am going to Polar, and the videos will start uploading. I will start to editing and uploading the videos after the Polar hike. So blah blah blah. I think it was nice and informative video until I came home and deleted it from my camera, just like that, without really thinking. And now I don't have this material. So yeah, brain does not like this messing with the sleep, but I hope I will be all right for Saturday, because that's when I will leave to Sweden, to Stockholm. And fortunately, I have 2 nights in Stockholm also before we are meeting with the Fjällräven Polar team to fly to the north of Sweden. We booked ourselves a hostel with the other participants. So we are meeting up with the participants, hanging out in Stockholm, discovering Stockholm, and just relaxing. So I have time to sleep then as well. And then for sure, I am all ready for the hard polar hike that will be next week. So yeah, that's my update. I have unpacked my bag, so that's a great success from New Zealand. Yeah, I have been dealing with work that has piled up a bit during my away time, and yeah, trying to get things ready for the polar hike. By the way, getting things ready also meant that I bought my first GoPro, and I feel like a true adventurer now. Before, like, I have always filmed with, not always. Actually, I can give you a really quick tour. Where is my first camera? So, that's my box of technique. So I bought my first camera when I started doing the videos. Oh, it's this one. It was quite a nice camera, with a flip-up screen, and I loved it because it's waterproof and shockproof, but the picture quality isn't so good. So so I think like a year ago or something, or maybe a year and a half ago, I bought a new camera. It also has a flip screen, but it is not so durable, and I have already broken it. Like I have a dot in the sensor here, so yeah, and at one point I broke the first part here that moves, but now I guess the sand that was between here is now gone, so it works again. Anyway, I haven't had a real like adventure camera before, so now having this GoPro feels a bit unreal. It was quite expensive, but with the support of my lovely Patreons, you guys, I saved up, and I thought I need this proper camera for the polar hike, because if I take this one, it will break, I guess, on the first day with all of the snow and moisture and me not handling my technique or camera gear not very gently. Anyway, yeah, that's what I have been up to. That's also the GoPro. This GoPro, like life is totally new for me, so I still have to read some tutorials how to like really use the settings here. And it has this like frame. I don't have a tripod for this yet. I ordered it today, and hopefully I will receive it before Sunday, before leaving to Sweden. I really hope it will arrive. So yeah, how am I feeling about the trip? So the New Zealand trip was amazing. The nature, if people are telling about how beautiful New Zealand is, they are not joking, because it is like unreal. And you know that a lot of movies, like really beautiful movies, are filmed in New Zealand, like most known Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, also Narnia, Avatar. And when I visited the places, I know why they were filmed there, because it is so picturesquely and like unrealistically beautiful. The landscape is just so dramatic, and oh yeah, it is gorgeous. And actually, the area where we hiked or were around Queenstown, a lot of a Lord of the Rings scenes are filmed around there. We didn't hike exactly in the spots, but the area was the same. And when I hiked the trail, I felt like I was in the Lord of the Rings films. And when I returned on the flight, I started to watch the Lord of the Ring films again. And it was so nice to see the film. And like I looked at the landscape scenes with a totally different look on it, and it was it was nice. So it is really beautiful. We did a 4-day hike and then a 7-day hike. We had a town rest between, and then after the 7-day hike, we went back to the town and did some sightseeing and visited the Fjordland National Park for day trips. And my favorite hike was the first hike, the 4-day hike, and it was the hardest one. It was listed on the official website of the hike. Well, the Department of Conservation, or the DOC offices, have a lot of information online about the trails. It is very well documented stuff. And it was listed as advanced trail or hard. I don't know. So it was said it was hard, and it was hard. Quite a lot of climbing and decline, like descending in a really steep hills with a really rocky terrain. So you always had to climb and look where you step. You didn't have a lot of this like straight road where you just could walk. We always had to climb up and down, so that was why it was hard. But the scenery was just gorgeous, and the live stream, like thumbnail picture, and also the post picture that I posted on Patreon about the live stream times were from the first hike, from the second day, and it was just my favorite. And you guys were talking. Yeah, Sean was talking about how he was expecting the riders of Ronan to pop up over those hills, and that was exactly how I felt. Like I'm in Lord of the Rings film. Gandalf will be descending from the mountain anytime. It was so unrealistic to see. Yeah, the dramatic landscape was like my favorite. So yeah, we did this a hard hike that wasn't very popular. Like it wasn't very populated. It was popular among like certain group of persons who like these kinds of trails. But so we didn't see many people on the trail, but we did see some. Yeah, and we slept in huts and one night in a tent. I thought we will sleep more in a tent to save up. Like sleeping in a tent is 5 New Zealand dollars per night, and sleeping in a hut is $15 per night. And I thought we will stay on a budget and sleep in a tent, but actually the huts were so nice that we ended up staying in the huts. They were really comfortable. And for the second hiking trip, we hiked. Like we planned to be on the trail for 7 days, and after doing the first hike that was quite hard, we thought like we have to like cover less distance for the 7 days because the backpacks were heavy with 7 days of food, and we were a bit tired from the first hike. So we ended up like doing a 0 day between the 7 days. So yeah, like we hiked 2 days, then we rested, then the fourth day was a short one, and then like it went longer. And the last hike we did at the second part of our 7 day like hike in general was one of the great walks of New Zealand, the Routeburn Track. Like New Zealand has 9 great walks that are in a different system, like a different payment system. You have to book for the hikes because they are in really gorgeous and scenic places, and they maintain them differently. They have more people maintaining it. They have more huts on the trail, so everything is like upgraded because the trails are so beautiful. So the experience itself wasn't so rugged. It was like well-maintained trail. It wasn't so hard to hike. The huts were really nice. But there were more people on the trail. So that reduced the experience a bit, like the positive experience a bit. But it wasn't so bad. We only saw a lot of people in the huts, but on the trail we didn't see not so many. But the scenery on the Great Walk, the Routeburn Track, was just gorgeous. Indeed, like the views, like the mountain views, valley views, mountain lakes, like everything, like forest. It was just gorgeous. But because the experience of hiking itself wasn't so remote, like more people, more organized, I still liked the first one better. So I tend to like more of these challenges, although they are harder to do, but they give more emotion and like feel like, yeah, they give more emotion. So although you might say that the Great Walk, the Routeburn Track is more scenic, more views, I still like the first one more. So yeah, really gorgeous, really happy that I did it. And I really want to go back. There are so many trails that I couldn't do. And now as I know how the system works, oh, I just want to go there and hike more. But the flight there is really long. It's 11 hours time difference. Um, but it was like over 30 hours of travel when we went there, and longer when we came back because of the changing of the flight tickets, and we had a really long layover at one city. So yeah, it's really tiresome to travel there. And actually, I think it's the farthest away point where you can travel from Estonia. It's like totally across the world, and down on the different side of the world. So really long flight. So yeah, if I go there, I want to go there for a longer period of time. I don't know if it will happen. I will start planning for it to happen. As yeah, but I can't promise anything. But it was really beautiful. So yeah. Um, with the GoPro, just mind the battery life. Do you want to say that it doesn't last long? Can you tell me how long does it last? I did buy a second battery, but yeah, with this one, I have managed to film. If I film a lot on the trail, then then the battery lasts for 1 day. So I have to charge it every night with the battery bank. But it is like in normal climate. If it's colder, of course, it will last less. So yeah, how much should I be ready to charge a battery? Do I use the 2 batteries in 1 day? Yeah. But as I just got it, I don't have time to test it. So I will just hope it will test it before you go. Yeah. I guess I can just put it to film and see how it lasts, how long. I don't know. Yeah. I think, okay, I can test it tomorrow at work, put it to record when I work, and then see how long the battery lasts. Okay, that's a good tip. Thank you for that. I will try it out. Yeah. Um, so yeah, what else? I painted, not a lot. Um, I'm not very happy about the pictures that I painted. I think it's because I expect so much of myself now, and actually. I had this other notebook with me where I wrote. It's like a travel journal, and I started to do quick sketches here, and I started to love these more just because they were more free, and like I didn't expect them to be beautiful, so I sketched a quick this circle pictures that I thought maybe I will do into patches or stickers or something of the trails. You don't see it very well here, and I really love them. They are so free and like flowy, and like I did quick sketches about like the nature, the trees, and I love them. But oh, and yes, my favorite. I posted this on Instagram as well. To compare, this was the first quick sketch that I did on the location, and then I thought, okay, now I will do it here. And it is quite okay, but I still like the energy of this one more. So yeah, I had this problem many times where I felt the picture, the watercolor picture, too like stiff or boring. So I guess I'm also in the middle of like developing my skills. So it's logical to have like a hit a block at some time. I just need to like push it through I did paint one picture that I'm so happy with. I am totally in love with it. It's like a bit different style, but it is so like how the colors are mixing here, and like it is so gentle but at the same time interesting for me. The camera quality doesn't do it any justice at the moment, so yeah, you have to wait until I properly scan it in, but I did these quick sketches. This one is actually pretty nice. Yeah, it was this one, but it's, again, I think I'm expecting too much of myself. What else? So yeah, starting from the beginnings, this was the first day of the first hike. um, I will just I hope you can hear me. I'm covering up my mouth. I will just flip them through. These are this way. I started to paint like the nature or the plants of New Zealand because they were so interesting. Different types of ferns and peach trees. Um, oh yeah, that's the big landscape. Oh, this is an example of landscape I did. I wasn't happy with it, and I did the same landscape second time, and I was still not happy with it. Yeah, but to be fair, I haven't drawn like mountains. It's just a learning curve to learn how to draw mountains so they look like mountains and mountain landscapes. This is again some plants. Uh, as there was no reception or internet or anything on the trail, and I also didn't bring a book with me, so I very often drew just for my own entertainment. And this was once one night in a hut where I was quite bored, and I just painted small pictures of what I saw around me. Then I painted the birds because New Zealand is obsessed with birds. This is a picture of a hut. I think I posted this on Instagram as well. Um, oh yeah, so I tried to do the circle pictures again. I thought I will do one circle picture of the trails that I did. So this is the Reese Dart trek, and this is the Caples trek. I'm not happy with these, but they are a start. I guess I just have to work with them a bit more. But the idea I really like. That's from our second hike. Yeah. Again, like you saw these kinds of big landscapes everywhere, mountains at the backdrop and lakes and then like hills. Yeah, it was really like picturesque. Another example of doing one picture, then I wasn't happy with it. I did the second one from the same landscape, and then I wasn't happy with this one, and then I returned for the to the first one and like improved it a bit, and then I am quite happy with this one. A nice little like landscape memory from the area. um yeah, these are ugly trees. This one I showed you, the lake one. What else do I have? Again, I did one picture, wasn't happy with it, and I did the second one. Actually, I'm quite happy with this one. You see, I am more free, like I left more space between the colors, and it works much better with watercolors. This one, although it may be more realistic a bit, but it doesn't look interesting at all. So this one, yeah, definitely better one. This is our last camping spot. Our tent is here, and this one is, I don't know if you can understand, it's the silhouettes of trees on the backdrop of a mountain. Again, I was bored on one of the nights at the hut, and I just drew. Oh, and that's the last. Oh no, it's not the last picture. So at the last campsite, we met this family, a dad hiking with his two sons, and the smallest son came to hang out with us because he was bored, and we played card games. And then when he saw that I was painting, he asked me like, "You should paint me," and I said, "Sure, let's do it." And then he posed, like I took a picture while he posed against the landscape, and then I painted him. And as I am talking about it now, I remember I had to scan it and send the scanned version to him onto his email. So glad I remembered that. I could write it down, otherwise my brain will forget it. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the last picture. From the Fiordland National Park, there were so many mountains and so beautiful landscapes. That's actually pretty good. I like it, but I imagine I want to do it on a proper watercolor paper with time to let it dry before adding another layer. So I guess it could be really nice if I do it like again on another paper. Yeah. So Martia was asking, did I draw more in Nepal? I think not, but because I drew more in New Zealand. It's like quite many pictures, but I didn't draw all like composed pictures. I drew more like these snippets of nature, like the plants and many landscapes, like at least three pictures or three landscapes I like painted twice. So I guess for Nepal I was more like I wanted every picture to look beautiful, but in New Zealand I had the like I wanted to paint as much as possible to keep my hand loose and not to be stuck on like this idea that every picture has to be beautiful. So yeah, that's why I have more pictures that I'm not happy with, because I just painted more, I guess. But I still think that I should like take these sketches basically because they should be sketches, and paint them again like at home with all of my materials here on a proper paper. So I hope these will turn out beautiful. But I will put some of them on my some of the pictures, the prints of the pictures to my Etsy shop, but I haven't decided which ones yet. I guess I will paint some at home again and see how well they turn up, and maybe I will put some of them onto the shop. Did my mom enjoy the trip? Of course. It was a bit hard, especially at the beginning, because we did the hardest trail at first. Yeah. And she told me that she was a bit like surprised or like taken aback how hard it was, but fortunately all the other trails were easier. So it wasn't so hard for her anymore, and of course she enjoyed it very much. But I feel my throat is getting a bit dry. I will get myself water really quickly, so excuse me for like 30 seconds. Yeah. I had some questions. Okay, Steve is asking, what were the biggest differences I experienced between hiking in New Zealand and Estonia, apart from the scenery? So, if not counting the scenery, we still have to count that Estonia is flat. We don't have to walk up or down. So in New Zealand, it's almost always up or down. There isn't a lot of these. Oh, sorry. I just yawned at the middle of the sentence. As I discussed at the beginning, I'm still, and my eyes are starting to get red as well. Don't mind that. I'm still recovering from the jet lag. So yeah, in New Zealand, you always walk up or down. There isn't a lot of these straight trails. But the second biggest difference is how well the trails are maintained, and that the system itself, the hiking system, is so nice in New Zealand. There are like in every bigger town, there is an office that is dedicated to hiking trails and giving information to people about the hiking trails, giving the weather forecast and trail maps and trail recommendations and everything. And of course, the hiking huts. So there are these backcountry hiking huts that you can sleep in, like first come first serve. If it is high season and the hut is filled, the hut bunk beds are filled, you can you still can use the hut, but for example, you can sleep on the ground with your own mattress. Or so yeah, there are a lot of these huts, and they are serviced in the hiking season, which means there is always a ranger in the hut that will check who visits the huts, gathers the tickets, the money for using the hut, and also gives recommendations for everything you want to know. So you always have some local people, some very knowledgeable people talking to you about the trail, the conditions, the weather, and so on. So yeah, just the overall level of hiking. How do you say it? Like hiking logistics, the hiking system is so good. Yeah, in Estonia we don't have that. We only have we do have trails, we do have information about them online, but we don't have like so many offices, we don't have these backcountry huts. And yeah, the walking up and down part. Anthony is asking, what was the hardest part of the trip? And what was the funniest for you and your mom? The hardest part was definitely for me, the last day of our first hike. So the fourth hiking day on our first hike. And it was because we had to catch the shuttle bus off the trail. So the trails are so like remote. There isn't any other way to go to the trail if you don't have your own car. The only way for you to get there is to order a shuttle bus or buy a ticket to the shuttle bus. On the season, different companies are driving to the trail and back, so you don't have to go there with your own car. So we had to hurry to catch the shuttle bus that went at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and we started hiking at 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. in the morning. It was still dark outside, and I was quite worried that we will miss the shuttle bus, because we were like slower hikers, especially when I wanted to take breaks to paint. So I knew we will take a lot of time to reach the end destination. And yeah, I was so worried. We didn't rest almost at all. We just walked and walked like 7 hours straight. I allowed one lunch break for 15 minutes. And yeah, and one section from this last day was quite hard. It was like 4 kilometers of only like climbing over rocks and roots and really descending really steep track. So it was quite hard just because we couldn't rest. And yeah, and the Escapist Estonia is asking, did I see the different nature of New Zealand? Um, uh, Sort of, like the areas where we hiked, it wasn't so different. The nature, uh, like the plants. Of course, we did see a lot of ferns. That's why they are like the symbol of New Zealand. A lot of different ferns. But the most interesting part of it was the wildlife. So the only native wildlife that blew my mind totally. The only native wildlife in New Zealand are birds, except for 2 species of bats that are mammals. All of the other native species in New Zealand are birds, only birds. And all of the other species are brought in by humans. Rats, mice, stoats, deers, opossums, um, like cats, dogs, whatever, they are all brought in with humans. The Maori people came to New Zealand around 13th century, only like in 13th century. New Zealand was the longest New Zealand was the last part of the world that was like explored by humans, and not only Europeans but humans in general. Before the Maori people, no humans lived in New Zealand, so it had a lot of time just to hang out by itself and develop all of these wonderful species of birds. Many native species are like flightless birds, really different looking birds, like kiwi. Kiwi looks totally different, and they are flightless because they didn't have any natural predators, so they didn't even have to fly away from anyone. So yeah, that's why they're flightless. So the bird thing, or the bird topic, is very hot in New Zealand because a lot of these native birds are endangered by these introduced species. So on the trails, there are a lot of posters about the birds. There are many programs that are trying to reduce the predator population to protect the native bird species. So they are like giving information to introduce the programs, and to say that if you want to help, you can donate and so on. So we really started to like take notice of the local birds. We saw eventually we saw a lot of these like native New Zealand birds, and it became this really like awesome and interesting game for us. Like, how many new species of birds can we spot today? Well, there aren't a lot. I guess we saw like 10 different species all together on our hikes. After the hikes, we visited some bird parks, or like Kiwi, we visited one bird sanctuary where we saw some new species that we didn't see in wild. And we visited the Kiwi Park in Queenstown where we saw kiwis and some other species as well that we didn't see in the nature, in the wild. So yeah, birds and the wildlife of New Zealand is totally different, and this was what we saw on the trail as well. We saw some pretty awesome birds. Yeah. Uh, uh, yeah, we didn't see about the wildlife. Yeah, only birds. In the wild, we didn't see anything else. But traveling, like riding buses through the country when we visited other places a bit, of course we saw sheep, cows, deer, and in the in the bird park, we saw an opossum that was super cute, but it is considered the first enemy of the people in New Zealand, because the opossums are like reproducing, like they're spreading really fast, and they don't have any natural enemies. So it means that there are too much of them and they are killing the native species. So yeah, that's that. Um, oh, of course. How could have I forgotten? Uh, Sandflies are awful in New Zealand. Like they bite so hard and so painfully, and then the spot where they bite will start to itch like after 1 or 2 days, and then it will itch so hard that we just scratched ourselves. We scratched our skin so long that it started to bleed, and I still have some like scars or spots where I can see where the bites were on my feet, and they were really savage. I was so fortunate that we brought the really strong mosquito repellent with us to New Zealand, because it's not sold in New Zealand. uh, but at some points we didn't use it, and we like they if they are in an area, they will attack you so quickly, you just are taken by surprise, and by the time you have rubbed the repellent on your skin, you will already have like 10 bites. So yeah, sandflies were quite terrible, and that's the only like bad wildlife that we saw. uh, Kiwis, yeah, it's a really funny thing that the kiwis are birds in New Zealand, and then there's the fruit, and then yeah, the New Zealanders call themselves kiwis as well. That's yeah, that's pretty confusing. um, and yeah, the forest huts, I guess I talked about them a bit. So yeah, the ordinary backcountry huts, you have to pay to sleep in there. You have to buy the one-time ticket, or you can buy the backcountry hut pass, where you pay 90 dollar New Zealand dollars for 6 months, and you can visit as many huts as you want to. We As we didn't stay in New Zealand so long, and we didn't sleep in so many huts, we bought separate tickets beforehand, and then you hand the tickets to the ranger. And in summertime, the huts are serviced, which means the rangers are there to collect the tickets and to control the life in the huts. And the Great Walk huts work in totally different system. You have to book them well advanced. Some Great Walk huts are booked like year and half advance. Uh, so yeah, you have to book them really well advanced, uh, well in time. I don't know how to speak anymore. And if the weather is bad at that moment when you have bought the ticket, then bad for you. We actually had this situation where we finished the Routeburn track, that is one of the Great Walks. And the day we finished, it was so bad weather that they closed the track. And then when we went back to the town, we heard a conversation between the dock office worker and between one hiker that had bought the Great Walk, that had booked and bought the Great Walk tickets. And as the track was closed, he couldn't use those tickets, and they do not return the money. That's quite bad of a system, but that's how basically it works. Like, I wish they could like refund if you cannot visit the track because of the weather. But as far as I understood, it was like force majeure, and yeah, basically you're screwed if the weather is bad. And the Great Walk huts are really expensive. So the ones that we visited, it was 120 New Zealand dollars for one person for one night in a hut that will give you a bunk bed in a room filled with 50 other hikers. You can use the hut facilities, which means there is a kitchen. They do provide gas in those Great Walk huts. You have running water, you have toilets, but you don't have like electricity, you don't have shower, you cannot buy food or anything. But of course, the money goes towards maintaining the tracks, maintaining the personnel. So I totally understand, but it's quite expensive for like losing the money if you cannot visit the trail when the weather is bad. So yeah, that's about the forest huts. But many of the huts we visited were just in a really remote places, and it was so nice to go inside and like